Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another Kids Day at the Mac. Only once again, we're not at the Mac. It's our third virtual Kids Day. We are looking at international arts during these Kids Day activities. Kids Day will be the last Saturday of the month, so from now on you can plan to see virtual Kids Day the last Saturday in every month. Hopefully someday we'll get back to actually having some Kids Days at the Mac, and you can come join us there. So 2 weeks ago, we talked about making tissue paper flowers, and I showed you how to make tissue paper flowers on your own. When I think of tissue paper flowers, I think of the arts of Mexico because of the bright colors and because there's a lot of use of these tissue paper flowers in their celebrations. So we think of Mexico and tissue paper flowers. Last month in May, I showed you how to make an origami cat and dog face. Origami is an art form that is associated with the country of Japan. And today I'm going to talk about Mehndi. Mehndi is a henna art that is used to decorate the body, normally the hands and the feet, and sometimes part of the arms in particular. This art originated in ancient India and is sort of seen through this area of the world here, incorporating the Middle East and Northern Africa. Now I have an example here that I want to show you. This is a paper hand that I decorated with some different motifs. The thing I love about Mehndi is it uses the line, and I love lines. Remember when we did the Kandinsky Art Tree Goes Almost Live episode, and we were working with different sorts of lines? You might want to go back and review that video, but with a few simple lines, we can do so many different things. And that comes up in Mehndi art as well. The way the henna is applied to the skin is usually with something called a cone. So you take the dry henna paste and you mix it until it becomes thick like a paste, maybe more like a glue, the consistency of glue. And you wrap it into a cone shape, and you can then squeeze it out into a line. And I actually had one in my freezer that I was going to show you, but that'll have to be another time. So the henna art is made by making the paste, putting it in a paper and wrapping it like a cone, and then squeezing, like I said, a very, very thin line of henna onto the skin. And then that henna will dry onto the skin, and you can use a little bit of plastic wrap or something to keep the temperature, the body temperature in there, and that helps to develop the color. And then after a few hours, you can take the henna off, and the color of your skin will be stained for a few weeks. It's not an actual tattoo because tattoos use dyes to permanently color the skin. A henna tattoo is more like a stain. It's actually not a tattoo. Henna art is a stain that turns the skin a darker color for a few weeks, and then it fades and disappears. So here's an example of a hand that I have drawn, and then I decorated it with different lines. And the lines together look very much like a henna design. And this is what we're going to do today. If you want to do this, you will need a piece of paper, and you will need ink pens. Ink pens work really well for this. I would choose one color. Some henna turns out looking black because they add something into the henna that may not be good for your skin. The hennas that I use tend to be a reddy brown color or a brown color. So I like those colors of pens. You will need a pencil and some paper. If you have white paper and that's what you want to make your handprint with, that's absolutely fine. I would suggest laying, if you're right-handed, lay your left hand on the paper and trace around it. If you are left-handed, put your right hand on the paper and trace around it. I actually like using paper bags because I think the skin tone is more appropriate. You can see that the bag color is not far from my actual skin color, whereas the white paper is quite different. So this is a piece of a Save Mart shopping bag. I'm just going to tear off the handle. Paper shopping bags are great for art projects of various sorts. And for this, we're going to use the paper bag to make a hand. So I'm just going to cut out this section here that doesn't have too many creases or seams. Here we've got a seam. I can probably just tear this open. And you can see I have a nice piece here that I can use for my hand. Now this hand I just want to show you is actually my daughter's handprint. When she was 14, I traced around her hand on a piece of paper. And then I used this paper to trace around her handprint on a thicker tag board. And then I very carefully cut into the tag board and cut along those lines. Same lines again. And then I just cut roughly around that. And now I can use this as a template. So when I teach this class at schools, I will use the template of my daughter, her handprint when she was 14, or here's one I made of my daughter Charlotte when she was 9. Same idea. I use both of these templates when I teach henna at schools. And this is a great project for reviewing or learning all about lines. Lines are so important to artists. We use them all the time. And it's good to think about all the different sorts of lines because it helps when you are having trouble thinking what to do. And I'll show you what I mean by that as we continue. Okay, so here's my handprint. And I'm just going to trace around that handprint now because I know it's going to be hard for you to see it on the video. And if you've done your own handprint on a piece of paper, go ahead and trace around your handprint too. You can see this is a little bit off, but that's okay. So now we have a hand, and oftentimes the Mehndi is put onto the palm of the hand in particular. It's also decorated on the back. The palm of the hand will take up a lot of the stain, and so we're going to be decorating the palm of this hand. So we're not going to be seeing the fingernails. We're going to just be seeing a beautiful pattern all over the hand and this part of the wrist. So we can decorate the whole thing with lines. And sometimes when you have a piece of paper, or if you're an artist, you might have a canvas or anything that you're trying to create on. If you have a blank space, it's kind of hard to get started. So one trick is to actually put something in that space that's exceedingly simple that you know you can start with. And when I was talking about just a few minutes ago, knowing all the different sorts of lines that you can use, that's a perfect example of how you can start. So we know how to draw a curved line, for example, and let's just start with a nice curved line. I'm going to start right here. Just going to make one curved line. And then let's make a horizontal line right here. And I'm going to make a vertical line. And I'm going to think about maybe another curved line. Let's make one here, a smaller curve. And maybe a wavy line. Here and a diagonal line here. So all of a sudden, in a short time, I don't have one blank hand to look at any longer. Now I have shapes. We have a shape here. I have a shape here, and here, and here. And I have this shape that's actually made up of a thumb and 3 fingers. And I have 2 shapes here on this finger that are divided by a wavy line. So now it doesn't look quite as difficult to start because you have already started. And one thing I can show you at this point is how to turn this wavy line into a vine with leaves on it. So if we take this wavy line and we say that is the center of the vine, then we can think about leaves growing on one side of it or on the other side, and we can actually draw those leaves. And we can draw them as curved line up, curved line down, curved line up, curved line down. And I'm just going to work my way down this wavy line, putting one leaf in every curve, just like that. And then if I put a little line in the center of the leaf, it will help it look more like a leaf. It's a center vein. So now we have a vine with leaves on it. And what can we do with this shape down here? One thing we could do is make another curved line. And how about adding a dotted line next to that? And maybe up here, we could do a bumpy line. And maybe over here we can put some circles around this curved line. And maybe we can make a wavy line in here. And maybe we can put one leaf in the center. Curve line up, curve line down, in the center. Down here, what if we make some diagonal lines? And we can even make some diagonal lines going the other direction to turn this into an area of cross-hatching. It's when your diagonal lines go one direction and then the other direction. And maybe this area here, we could do, let's do another vertical line. And maybe big bumpy lines. And maybe in each of those bumps, put a circle. What about this finger if we put some spirals? Remember, a spiral is like making a circle, but the line doesn't come back to itself, it gets bigger and bigger. Or else you can make it start big and get smaller and smaller. And maybe we'll put some little circles between our spirals. And I think I want to make another vine on this finger. So remember, we started out with a wavy line. And then we're going to do a leaf shape, and a leaf shape, and a leaf shape, and a leaf, and another leaf shape, and a leaf shape here, and a leaf shape here. And let's make a diagonal line here. And let's repeat this beautiful spiral pattern on this finger. So we can either make spirals by starting small and going bigger and bigger and bigger, or we can start big and get smaller and smaller and smaller. Here we started small, and we get bigger and bigger and bigger. Here we start big and get smaller and smaller and smaller. And again, let's put those little circles in between our spirals. So now we've got 4 fingers decorated, the wrist area, and a lot of the rest of the hand. What shall we do with this thumb? What about if we make some diagonal lines and then make bumpy lines on top? And what should we do here? We could leave it, or we can add more. I think I'd like to put a circle here and bring some more curved lines around like this. And then maybe some straight lines that come out from the curved line and in towards the dots. So now we've got this area in here. I think I'm going to break this into a smaller piece. I'll do one diagonal line here. So now I have two smaller shapes to think about. And in this shape up here, I'm going to do something like this. So I'm going to do a circle and then do curved lines around. And then for this one, I'm going to do dots. And I'll do lines towards the dots. And then I'm just going to take a look and think, where do I need something else? I might put a spiral there, and maybe a spiral here, and maybe a spiral here. I'm going to leave these not filled in because it really looks more like a vine to me. If I put too many other patterns in there, I might lose that vine shape. So I think my Mehndi hand is finished. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut around this shape. Remember when we were talking about how to cut things out? The hand that's using the scissors just goes open, close, and the other hand is turning the paper. Now I'm left-handed when I use scissors, so my left hand will be going open, close, and my right hand will be turning the paper. Always remember to think about where this hand is. We don't want it to be too close to the scissor blades because we don't want to cut our hand by accident. So I'm going right down in between the fingers, and then I'm going to turn the paper. And head back up this finger. Whoops. Go around. If you find cutting the area between the fingers is too difficult, the other thing you can do is just cut around like this first. And then go back to cutting out these almost triangular shapes in between. Sometimes it's helpful to get rid of all that extra paper first. So my left hand is going open, close, open, close. My right hand is turning the paper. And of course at this point you can just stop and go in towards the area between the fingers in this way too. Pull that piece out. I'm purposely not cutting right on the line, outlining the hand, because I kind of like that little tiny bit of paper showing. But if you would prefer, you can cut right on the line and not have this extra bit of paper. So there we have it, Mehndi Hands. Again, this is an art form from India. And here's an example of one I did before. This one I used a finer tip pen, so the lines I was able to get much closer together. This took me a lot longer to do. And the bridal mehndi that often is used to decorate the hands and arms and feet of brides in India can be exceedingly intricate. They would use a very, very fine tip to their cone, or they might use a special tool to get a very, very fine line of henna out of that bag, the cone. This piece here, we used a thicker pen, so it goes a lot faster. You can't get that really, really intricate pattern, but you can still have a lot of fun with this. So let's try that today. If you have a piece of paper, an extra an extra shopping bag, or any kind of flesh tone papers, this is a lot of fun. That's all for today, and I hope you enjoyed this lesson. Tune in next month for another art from around the world. I wonder where we'll go next. We'll have to see. Until then, take care, stay creative, stay inside, and be safe. Goodbye.